Hey y'all, so this week we are starting our self-portrait series and I can't wait. I'm super excited. This is one of my absolute favorite projects. So we're not going to get started off drawing our self-portraits quite yet. We've got to talk a little bit about proportions because everybody's proportions or facial features are laid out in the same way, and there's a common mistakes that few people make that we're just going to go ahead and get out of the way first. So this week we are making a template for our faces. We're not going to get started drawing quite yet, because I really want to see those proportions and see what they look like. They're almost the same for everybody. Now, my proportions may be a little bit different from yours just because I'm an adult and you're a kid. Since you are a kid, your eyes are a little bit smaller and your head has a little bit of a different ratio to your body than mine does. Now, proportions are going to be the same almost everywhere you look. It does not matter what art style you draw in, whether it's anime, cartoon, if it's realism. I mean, go back and look at the paintings in my virtual classroom. Even though those styles are so different, the proportions are very similar. The only difference really is in an anime, you tend to draw the eyes just a little bit bigger and the nose and mouth a little bit smaller. But knowing where to start for those proportions to make your characters look realistic is a great way to learn how to draw any character, let alone a self-portrait. So continue watching this video to figure out how to do your assignment. First things first, you need to take a selfie of yourself. It'll be easier if your hair is out of your face. And make sure you take it directly straight on. If your iPad is angled down, your chin will be too small. And if your iPad is angled up, then your chin will be way too large. So make sure you're facing straight on, just like the selfie I have here. And we're going to put it in Sketches School. Now we're going to make a template from our faces to show what our proportions are. I'm using the second pen tool, black ink on the smallest size. And first things first, go over your picture and test and make sure that if you hit the eyeball, that your picture disappears, but your drawing does not, because you don't want to have to stop and bring your picture back in later and erase all of your drawing. I actually made my pen tool just a little bit bigger, but we're going to start by outlining our head. Now my hair is pulled back, so it's pretty close to my head, but even if your hair is very tall, you still might want to trace it as well. So just as close as you can, go around and make an oval around your face. If your chin is really small or more square, then you can trace that shape as well. And I'm doing a very basic ear shape. I'm not following my ears exactly. Now for the hairline, you want to draw where the base of your hairline is, where your forehead stops, and then kind of follow your hair down to your ears. This looks really weird right now, but notice if I take my picture away, we kind of have the basic shape for a face and hair. Remember, this is a template that we could be making our own self-portraits on or draw any other character that we want to. Now click on the ruler tool and line it up so it fits directly in the middle of your eyes. I didn't have to change my angle at all. You may have to change the angle of yours a little bit, and then draw a line straight through the middle of your eyes. We're going to do the same thing with the base of our nose and the top of our mouth. It may be easier if you take your picture without smiling with teeth, just a simple smile. Now we're going to turn our ruler so that it is vertical, and we're going to make sure that it's perpendicular to our line going straight through the middle of our eyes. Remember, perpendicular means that the two lines meet to make a 90-degree angle. Keeping your ruler at the same angle, line it up with your tear ducts. You may need to zoom in for this part. And we're going to go a line straight down. As you may have noticed, your tear ducts line up perfectly with the edge of your nose. Same thing for the middle of your eye. The middle of your eye lines up perfectly with the end of your mouth. And we're drawing these lines to show these proportions. Now these lines are important, but they're not quite as important as some of our other ones. So I'm taking my eraser tool on the smallest setting and going straight through the middle of the lines to make them dotted lines or dashed lines. have a pretty good template to draw any face. You have lines that show you where the eyes should go, how long, how wide the nose should be, how big the mouth should be. But the last thing we need to focus on is how large the eyes are. So I'm just taking a circle using the Shapes tool or the ABC tool and making it the same size and placement as my iris. So I'm making sure it's the same size as the colored part of my eye, and I'm sitting in the exact same place. It's okay if the circle goes above your top lid because your eyelids actually cover the top part of your iris. Now this is what you're going to turn into Seesaw, this template that we can draw any face from, especially our self-portraits. This is a good time to study where our facial features sit on our face and how big they are in relation to one another. That's the proportion part of this. So now I'm going to show you that our eyes sit about halfway through our face. If we measure from our chin to the very top of our head or hair, our eyes are going to sit exactly halfway most of the time. Now we're going to look at the bottom half, or the half below the eyes, and we're going to divide that in two again, leaving us with 2 1/4. Take a close look where the bottom of the nose line and the mouth line sit in relationship to that halfway point. The mouth is very, very close, and the nose is just above it. Now, you don't have to turn in your template with these numbers. These are just good to keep in mind for the future. The next part of this video is just a bonus video for those who want to learn how to draw their own characters for the future. So I've graphed a picture of Avatar Aang here, and we're going to break down his proportions. Tracing is a great way to learn how to draw, but when you're trying to create something new or an original idea, you have to break away from tracing and draw your own character. So one way to start drawing your own character is to make these templates. If you want to learn how to draw like the style of Avatar, trace the overall head shape. Notice where the eyes are and where the irises are. Notice how long the nose is, where the nose sits, and the same thing with the mouth. This is going to help you in the future. So now you have a map to know where to put all your facial features for whatever art style you want to learn how to draw in. Notice that even though Aang is drawn in an Avatar style, that his eyes still sit exactly halfway through his head, and that the corner of his tear ducts still match up with the corners of his nose, and the corners of his mouth still match up with the middles of his eyes. Everything is still sits on the same proportions. Because I know my proportions and I've drawn them so much, it's a bit like muscle memory for me now, and I was able to do this self-portrait on my whiteboard in less than 5 minutes. Now next week I will show you how to take this template that we drew together today and show you how to create your own self-portrait. But not only that, but I'll show you how to create any person that you want to based off that one template.